Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're very thrilled and excited to be here with you today. Thank you for signing up and making time to join us for this webinar series from the Career Ladders Project called Moving Student Supports Online. It's a webinar. Go through a little bit of information on how we're going to operate these webinars, and we hope that you'll be able to participate with us using the chat box that we'll talk about as well. So thank you again for joining us. Our speakers are ready, and we're going to make this a quick share out. We'll keep this to an hour. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get started with technical announcements. This is a webinar technology using Zoom. All of you will be muted. Your video will be off. If you have any technical issues or concerns, please feel free to communicate through the chat and ask for help and support for technology issues that you may have. We will be asking you to identify your questions or concerns or issue by listing them out by saying tech, meaning that you have a technical issue. Can I, or whatever the issue may be, you can write that out in the chat box. That would be great. If you have questions for the panelists, we ask that you put the name of the college and direct your question that way, and just ask the question with the name of the college first. If you have a general question, we want you to put the title general and then whatever your question is. And then lastly, if you have any ideas, approaches, or things that you'd like to share, we'd love to get those as well. You can also put those in the chat box as well, and listing those by saying idea, your name, and then whatever the suggestion, comment, or idea that you want to share with us. So hopefully you'll be able to get all those in the chat box. And we also have all of the material. This webinar is also being recorded. All of this will be available to you. We'll be sending out this information to everyone so that you have it in your inbox in the next short while, probably by tomorrow. That's where our hope is, and we'll work on that. If you signed up for the webinar today, we have your email. If you didn't sign up and you received the link from a colleague or friend, we may not have your email. So please put in your email asking us to make sure that you're on the list so that you'll receive information as follow-up. And also future dates for future webinars will also be made available once we have your email. This is our team putting together the webinar today. They're all working behind the scenes, but we're all working together to try to make this as smooth as possible for you and for your learning and enjoyment, hopefully. So that we have Julian West, he's Director for Career Ladders, Christina, Program Associate, and Sherry Shojai, Program Manager as well. We're looking forward to being of support throughout this webinar, and we hope the information that you'll receive will be useful and effective, providing you with information that you need at this time. So this is the team that will be providing the webinar series over the next 4 weeks. The webinar today is really focused on the whole process of moving student support services online, which is a huge endeavor. And we have some speakers that are ready to share with you some of the things they've been doing to help make this smooth transition for moving support services online. As many of you who are from the student services areas from your campuses already know, it's quite a big accomplished feat to try to move such large number of services at the same time with this challenging times that we're living through. Trying to get students online and providing them with access and services is critically important in order for them to take advantage of all the supports that are available. So this is really a key and important point that we wanted to try to keep these focused webinars around how do we support delivery of equitable support services, addressing the many challenges and barriers that all of you I know are dealing with, and certainly we're hearing about in terms of what the students are dealing with, and the idea of how to work all this on online platforms, some of which are new, some of which have been around for a while, but we're all working differently now. We're also looking to figure out ways that we could be supportive in some professional development support or professional learning So some of the speakers will also add in some of that work as well. All this is really meant to try to support the student needs while trying to keep them engaged, as well as everyone else engaged in the process that we're working on to keep everybody focused moving forward. And of course, this is all meant to be a great opportunity to have a supportive exchange, practitioners, leaders, and others that are supporting the community colleges around trying to address all the needs that are being surfaced now. So we'll be doing this for 3 more weeks, every Wednesday, videos, slides, all the links will be available each and every time. So we'll be on the lookout for the next one, which we'll talk about at the end and when that one's coming up. Okay. Well, I forgot to mention, I did want to say that this webinar is part of a series, as I mentioned, that Career Ladders is doing, and it is funded by the California Community College Chancellor's Office. So thank you to the Community College Chancellor's Office for providing the support. These are some of the just quick highlights of who's on the call and who registered. Obviously, there's probably less number of people that are listed here, but hopefully people will be listening in on the recording. We have 60-plus administrators, and as you can see, a good majority of counseling faculty, classified student support services folks that are all listening in and learning from hopefully this exchange, as well as others. And I was really happy to see that we had a couple of students with us as well who are also part of this day of webinar. These are some of the webinar pre-survey highlights. Most of you completed a survey where you responded to some questions. So these were some of the challenges that were listed there, some of the equity concerns that were also brought up, and other concerns. And so we will not necessarily get to all of these, but it was good to see the context under which many of you are dealing with right now in trying to move along with the process of getting the needs of students met. I'm sorry, we've got this problem here with this slide. Okay, here we go, sorry. So we're going to go now to our presenters, and really happy to say that we have Val Martinez Garcia, Vice President for Student Services at West Hills Lemoore, and also Dr. Cynthia Olivo, Vice President for Student Services at Pasadena City College. Very happy to see that they were both able to make time. It was very challenging with their schedules. I want to personally thank them for making time to join us today. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Val. So he's from West Hills Lemoore, and we'll introduce him now, and he'll be taking over and making his presentation. Val, if you could just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide, or you could do it yourself. You have controls there.
Yeah, how about if you go ahead and do that for me? Hey, everybody, okay. Thank you all for being here. Before I get started, I want to let you all know how proud I am of the work that we're all doing across the state of California. I know these aren't easy times. I know it's been difficult for all of us to basically ramp up our services in a way that we've never thought we would have to in such a short amount of time. But I know everyone's done their best. And I hear stories across the state, and as I talk to my colleagues and I see people here around the city, and everyone's just really happy with the work we're doing. And again, you guys are just a great group of professionals out there, and I'm just happy to be a part of all of this. My name is Val Garcia. I'm the Vice President of Student Services at West Hills College Lemoore. I've been there for 2 years now, and I'm going to share some things with you of what we've been trying to do. By no means do I think that we are experts, or I'm an expert. I think we're all just trying to get through this together. But I know you've had some questions out there, and Luis reached out to myself, and I thought, I'd be okay to share some of this with you. Luis, can you go ahead and change the slide? First of all, when we started this approach to what we're doing, we have to kind of give you kind of an idea of where we come from. West Hills College Lemoore, we are in the heart of California. You can see our demographics there. We have been a leader college with ATD. We've done a lot of great work with Guided Pathways. And so with that in mind, I wanted to start off by telling you what we started doing when we entered this framework, or when we entered this era of being online, is we wanted to keep everything that we were doing in focus. And particularly, we wanted to not get away from our framework, which is our strong framework. Luis, can you go ahead and change the slide? And we felt it was important for us to keep that in mind because a lot of the work that we've been doing already, we've conducted over the last couple of years. We didn't want to lose it. And so what we want to do is keep our strong framework in mind. We want to build on existing procedures and structures. And we wanted to make sure that everyone was able to understand that we have to accept the reality that we live in now and the pace of change that is occurring. So by doing all those things, we really felt we could come up with some structures that we had in place, but we were able to help students, help faculty, help staff, and not get too far away. In other words, we didn't want to recreate the wheel. Luis, can you change the slide? So there's our strong framework. Again, we wanted to keep that in focus with everything we were doing and as we move forward. Again, not going away from our guided pathways pillars, making sure they stayed in place, but building our current structures and revamping them up to what we wanted to, how we wanted to help students. Luis, can you change the slide? So the first question that we have is, how do we have faculty connect with students as far as support services, things like early alert, mental health? What we wanted to do was kind of build on what we've been doing. So what we did was we took an existing structure. Luis, can you change the slide? And a model that we have where we have our case management tools for our faculty to see. We have a red light, green light, yellow light. And what we found was this kind of worked for all of our students, all of our faculty out in the workforce who are out with the students. And we want to do is use this slide to be able to help them understand how they can help students. And particularly students who had issues like you can see there that may have needed some student of concern, some mental health services, the red. We want to give faculty a visual so they were able to use this slide here or this model to be able to place students in a red column or yellow or green. And then what they would do is take those three different groups and funnel them out to student services. So your early alerts, your students of concerns, if you had a bad team or you're using something like Maxient, we're able to kind of group our students. And what we did was we had our vice president of students of instruction reach out to faculty and ask the faculty to group students into those three kind of groupings where they felt they had red, yellow, and green. And on Monday, we're going to be going through those lists and making sure that we have connection back to those groups of students, again, through the red, yellow, and the green. I thought this was kind of good to share with all of you because I think faculty don't really know how to group the students or how to help students out there right now. We're hearing a lot back from faculty that students are having a lot of issues and they're becoming quasi counselors out there. And so what we felt was this would be a really good, quick way for them, faculty, to be able to identify students according to their needs and let us know on the student services end who needs immediate services, the red, a yellow, and a green. And of course, the green being students are going to be okay. So if the students has issues with internet services, they have issues around transportation, all of those types of needs, they can place them in different buckets and then we would pick them up on our end on the student services end and address them accordingly. Luis, can you change the slide? So what that did was it kind of put it back on us in student services. Now you have faculty able to identify students who are in need using those three different type of lights, you can call them. Now on the student services side, how do we respond to the non-instructional needs of the students, especially in this remote environment? What we felt was we wanted to use our current structure with our student success teams or our completion teams, but we needed to change them a little bit. And so what we're going to be talking about soon is how we take our student completion teams and moving them to care teams. Care teams where the focus, unlike in the student services, or I'm sorry, in the completion teams, may have been just that completion. In the care team, our focus is really going to be non-instructional support needs and how we respond to students as far as giving them the access to what they need and the services they need. Specifically, care is an approach that we're going to be taking, which is concern, activate, remedy, and evaluate. In other words, concern. We're going to identify the concerns the students are having. And then we're going to activate the different responses that students have to these issues that they're having. So different groups like frontline staff, counselors, faculty, who needs to be informed and activated to assist the students. And then we're going to come to an agreement or a remedy that's going to be individually based, or in some cases maybe group based. Let's say we have multiple students are having this particular issue. How do we get them what they need in a larger group setting? And then we're going to evaluate after the case is closed and evaluate how well we serve that student. We want to make sure we close the loop with the students so they don't feel they got left out. We have a very in-depth way that we kind of take notes, and we do noting through our Inspire for Advisor. That's where we're going to keep all of the notes that we have for students. And it's very, very tied together as far as counselors and advisors and different classified staff all have access to notes. So we're a little bit different in that regard. We want to make sure that we holistically take on these student issues and that we work together. So you can kind of see the care team model. Again, it's not much different from a completion team, just the focus is going to be changed a little bit. Whereas before we're really thinking about ed plans and different things to get students to complete, sometimes the non-academic supports may fall off a little bit or may not be as on the forefront of the minds of a completion team. What we want to do is push that now all the way forward to the front mind, from the forward thinking of the completion team, to where they're really focusing in on the non-instructional support systems for students. Again, this is because what we're seeing is faculty in the online environment are having to deal with students a lot differently, and their issues the students are having are coming through a lot differently to them. So this is how we're responding to the needs of faculty, is by changing the way that we're going to be doing our completion teams, our success teams. Okay, and I think that's about it. Any questions, or do you want to wait, Luis?
You couldn't hear me, sorry.
Yeah.
I wanted to first thank Val for this wonderful short presentation. Really intrigued and really happy to see how you changed the team to focus on being a care team, and the way you described how you're working there at West Hills to address continuing the work on improving things for students, but given the crisis that we're all going through, and how you pivot to support students where they need and how they need to be served. So there's a couple of questions here. Let me just take a look. We'll just take, let's take this first question here, Val, and see if you can answer this in a brief way. What is the role of the advisor? That seems to be a question that comes up quite a bit.
The counselor. So there are some things that come up in an early alert that maybe not need a full-blown counseling appointment. Sometimes a student just may need support as far as being pointed in a direction to where they can get a bus pass, or they can get access to a meal card or something like that. So the role of advisor would be to be able to step in and do some triage in some cases, and in some cases, maybe they take that case again and run with it, because it's really just redirecting to a resource, or the student to a resource. Hopefully
Thank you, Val. And yeah, I think so. And that just to differentiate that the advisor in your case is classified.
Yes.
Students or professional working with the team or the counselor as the case may be. Thank you for that. So sort of related to that in terms of the care team, another question is, how do the care team members keep in contact, especially now with the situation of working remotely?
That's a great question. So what we're planning to do is, and again, we're on spring break right now, everybody. And so some of this we're putting together in the background right now, we're going to be moving forward. The teams are going to be meeting on a weekly basis, and we're going to be meeting with our care team for each different learning area, because we have learning areas, and then we have the teams established by learning area. And we meet on a weekly basis to go over, like you would in a BAT team. Let's say, you know, you have specific cases that you really are having trouble kind of going through. So we're going to be working as a unit to be able to work those issues with certain students. So those of you who are on BAT teams kind of understand where I'm going with that, is that as a student's case comes up and there are barriers, how can we work together to be able to alleviate those barriers or reduce those barriers? And so on a weekly basis, we'll be meeting. We're also going to be connecting via Zoom individually with the counselor and advisor. They'll be working together, or in my case, I'm a coach. I'll be involved in the coaching aspect of those conversations. But it's going to be tough communication as far as face-to-face and video. Again, we have Inspire for Advisor. We keep all of our notes, case notes, in Inspire. So as students go through different processes of their case, we're able to review them and be able to see what's going on with particular students. So the note taking is very, very important. So some of you may have SARS out there. You could do the same thing in SARS. I don't know how the access works for everybody out there with SARS, but note taking and documentation in this environment, we feel is very, very important to be able to really understand where the student has been, where they're at, and where they want to be.
Thank you, Val. Thank you so much. We're going to come back to there's a few more questions, but we're going to hold those until the end. We're going to move on now to have our next speaker, Dr. Cynthia Olivo. And Cynthia, would you mind just giving a brief background, and feel free to go ahead and introduce yourself and then start. You must be on mute, maybe.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Cynthia Olivo, and I am the Vice President of Student Services at Pasadena City College. I have served in this role for around 4 years now. Prior to my role as VP, I was the Associate Vice President for a few years, and I also served as the Dean of Counseling and Student Success Services at PCC. And so I want to echo my gratitude to all of you for your hard work and the swift work all of us did in order to adjust and make sure that we were meeting our students' needs. And so thank you. I send you well wishes to you and your family members. I hope that you're all navigating these uncharted territory safely inside, and that we all remain healthy and whole. So, Luis, I'd ask if you could also please help me with advancing the slides. Great. A little bit about Pasadena City College. We have 28,000 students, and we're located primarily on our Colorado campus, which is on Colorado Boulevard in the city of Pasadena. We also have a campus on Foothill Boulevard for Noncredit students, as well as a campus in the city of Rosemead. And we are just now opening a campus in Northwest Pasadena in partnership with Pasadena Unified School District at John Muir High School. 51% of our students are Latinx, 4% are African American, 2% Native American, 29% are Asian and Pacific Islander, 12% are white. And so you can see we have a very diverse campus, and the majority of our students are students who come from historically underrepresented communities. 80% of our students receive the Promise Board of Governors fee waiver, and nearly 50% of our students are the first in their family to go to college. And we have a very traditional age student population. 60% of our students are between the ages of 18 to 24. We've been a proud federally designated Hispanic serving institution since the 1980s. And we also qualify for the designation of Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander serving institution. And we're very proud about that. Next slide. And so the ways in which PCC has been responsive to the needs of our students is I wanted to cover the first challenge that we faced with a large student body located in an urban setting like Los Angeles. You know, LA is where we draw the majority of our students. We have around 60 to 70% of our students come from outside of the actual district of Pasadena. We draw from all of the communities surrounding Pasadena, including Alhambra, San Gabriel, LA, East LA, Highland Park, Echo Park, etc. And so what we made sure to do was to centralize our social work services and ensure that we provided actual tangible support for our students. We have one social worker and a staff member from a community-based organization called Hathaway Sycamore. And so we centralized all of this information into a website, and it's placed on our homepage. Students can access electronic gift cards for purchasing of food, paper, cleaning supplies, and baby formula. And then we also have emergency aid from a few different funding sources. One is from our foundation, and that is funded by our PCC flea market. We have around $50,000 available there. For Student Equity and Achievement Program, we have $300,000 available there. This morning I was meeting with my financial aid director, and we'll have a couple $100,000 there. And in regards to technology, I know many campuses struggle in regards to how in the world can we meet the technology divide that exists in our student bodies. And so what we did is our IT executive director took control of all of the college inventory of laptops in every program, every tutoring center, and centralized that inventory so that we could begin meeting the needs of our students as well as faculty and staff who also needed a laptop to take home to work remotely. And then in regards to housing, it's important to partner with community-based organizations and government agencies so that in this remote environment, you can ensure to continue to meet needs of students. And we've been able to do that. And I would say social work service needs as a part of that care approach that Val was describing at his college. At Pasadena City College, all of this information is shared with every stakeholder group, such as instructional faculty, student services, on the campus website, and directly to students. So the first week we were remote, we sent 3 direct emails to students with these resources so that students were aware that we cared about them. We were prioritizing this information as the first communications they were receiving from our college to them. And so far, we've helped, 1,000 students with their food insecurity needs and emergency aid technology. We've helped several hundred students in that regard. And our social worker is extremely busy responding to needs of students. I see a question on how do students qualify for the electronic gift cards? We simply ensure that they are enrolled at the college. And once we confirm their enrollment at the college, they are emailed their gift card. And the amount that's available to each student, we started with $40 and then we went to $30. And so that's for Lancer Pantry. In regards to emergency aid, that dollar amount is higher. It's $1,500. And then the amount that we're going to fund out of the student equity program and financial aid is pending, because we are still working through the details. But I find that if you can empower every staff and faculty member to exhibit that care and concern for students, then they can help us conduct the intake about what resources students need. And then it's our job to understand what pots of resources are available to tap into. Next slide. I would say the challenge number 2 is, and this comes directly from students. Although I mentioned to you, we sent 3 communications to students from a student services approach. We're hearing from students that they are getting inundated with emails from their instructors through the learning management systems like Canvas or Blackboard. And so it's very challenging for our students to keep track of all of the information coming to them. So I would say one communication strategy that you can address the communication challenge with is equipping employees with the information too. So whatever you send to students, make sure you're sending to faculty, staff, and administrators and board members. That's important so that board members can respond to community members who are calling them. I would say equipping students with the info through the modes of communication they are, used to utilizing, which is social media. Social media is a great way. At Pasadena City College, our students actually have created a Facebook page called PCC Book Sale. And book sale is where they typically sell books to each other, but they also use that Facebook page to ask each other questions, find resources, and they answer each other's questions. It is not an open access Facebook page for PCC. You have to ask to be admitted and then be allowed into it from a student. And so that is a great way to get information out to students, is to go where they are already used to communicating. And so I would say it is important to understand that every stakeholder group is overwhelmed with info from the state level, county, college, employer, family, public health, the governor, mayor, etc. So if you can put information in little nuggets, or what I do is I try and take some picture so that staff could just glance at something and understand information that's important. For example, in Los Angeles, if a student or their family member can't pay rent, there's forgiveness for that. And so I keep track of all of that information so that I can share it widely. That way, everybody on campus, we have thousands of faculty and employees at the classified level, professional experts, etc. If everyone has the information, then everybody's able to provide that kind of response to our students. Next slide. I do have questions coming in. Any suggestions for non-credit institution whose funding may be limited, but whose population of students lack technology? Yeah, I will say for our non-credit students, the approach that we took at PCC non-credit is we did phone calls. Phone calls really worked for our students, and the counseling faculty on the non-credit side, led by our interim associate dean, Mr. William Sims, he got lists of students with their phone numbers and they did a phone campaign. And the other question that I had was, were faculty and staff able to obtain VPN access alongside district issued devices? And did people who had their own technology, were they still able to connect to the network? Yes. We had that coordinated through our IT technology department to have either someone's own personal device or their college issued device to have VPN access. And we're also utilizing something called Duo Mobile as a security technology. So when you log into the network on your laptop, you have to go to your cell phone and request that Duo Mobile dual sign-in so that there's a security measure in place. How did you coordinate the electronic gift cards? That is in conjunction with the PCC Foundation, and the gift cards are such a low amount. Lataria, we did not coordinate that with financial aid, but emergency aid, because it's a high amount of up to $1,500 per student, we are coordinating that with financial aid. I also wanted to mention that for counselors, we're using Cranium Cafe, Zoom, Google Meet, Google Phone, and regular phone appointments. We also, just in 1 week, had around 400 student appointments. Staff are using TikTok video system to meet with students and an app called Pronto. So things have been going really well. Students are accessing our supports, and I monitor that as the vice president by department and by program. Puente Ujima, the Academic Athletic Zone, the Veterans Program, our Queer Undocumented Empowerment Program. Every program designed for students is how I'm reaching our student body. And then we're also monitoring, of our 27,000 students, we've identified around this week, 700 have not accessed Canvas, our learning management system. And so we're doing personal outreach to those students who've not logged into the learning management system so that we can help them with whatever challenge they're facing that's preventing them from participating in their courses.
Thank you, Cynthia. I just wanted to mention we're going to try to get to as many of the questions that we have received so far. Cynthia, you grabbed a few that were already on the chat. Thank you for doing that. I want to thank you again for your presentation and answering questions. I wanted to direct a question to Val, if I could here, and we'll try to bounce back and forth. And if you see questions, Val or Cynthia, that you want to address, feel free to chime in. So Val, does West Hills Lemoore use Starfish as their case management platform for early alert? And if you could talk a little about that.
Yeah, no, we use Civitas Inspire for Advisor for all of our early alerts. And those come through like they probably would on Starfish. Not a whole lot of difference, it's a different platform.
So you both have been mentioning different resources, tools, applications. We're going to try to grab all those, and if we can't already just put them in the list in the chat, we will be making sure to grab those and put them on the resource materials that will be sent out afterward. So thank you for sharing that, Val. You mentioned TikTok. I think there was a question about that. How do you use TikTok or social media? This is for Cynthia. Or social media tools to reach students if not all of them use tools?
Yeah, we use TikTok. It's primarily to record videos, short videos for students. And that's more for fun engagement type of video messaging to students. And you know what, the feedback we did get from our associated student leaders is that they were feeling very inundated with negative information surrounding COVID-19, and they were depressed. And, you know, facing the fact that they're not going to have commencement or end of the year spring celebrations, they were really feeling down about it. And so TikTok is a great way to increase engagement, put something out there that takes their mind off of the negativity for a little bit. And that's what my team in the Office of Student Life has utilized, as well as Ujima, Puente. You know, trying to get our student spirits up is extremely important. I would also say, how are we getting students to engage in counseling appointments? Very targeted way. I do queries, and so I have my teams query out students. For example, any student who requested a transcript to be sent to a four-year university in the past 3 or 4 months, we take that list of students who've requested transcripts to be sent to a four-year university, and we're reaching out to the students to make sure they're remaining on track to transfer, and that nothing that has occurred during this remote setting has impacted their in-progress courses, so that they stay on track to meeting those transfer requirements. So it's figuring out which groups of students can we proactively identify and then reach out to the students. I think that's important. And then I have a question. I see, how are we thinking of transitioning career services and supports in the current context? Every part of our services are now available remotely. And regarding career services, what we're finding is the existing need is primarily focused on jobs, unemployment. And so I've provided everybody with the online application for unemployment, as well as something called LA Jobs Portal, which lists every job available in Los Angeles. And so at this point in time, everybody becomes a social worker. You know, we all take on the responsibility to help students navigate the job market, unemployment, and all of the, you know, unfortunate circumstances that we're facing in this COVID-19 experience. So our Freeman Center for Career and Completion has been helping our students navigate that as well.
Thank you, Cynthia. And a question for you, Val, that has to do with the care team. A couple of questions there about that. Do you follow up with students after the care team helps the student? And if so, how? And then connected to that, are the team members, do they serve both completion and care teams? Or they're both one and the same, or they're two different teams?
Right. The care teams are the completion teams. They're just changing their focus again from being having them look at how many ed plans maybe are completed, or some of the academic focus of the pathways that traditional completion teams have. We're kind of flipping it just a little bit to where the non-instructional focus is really there. It should always be part of the completion team anyway, but it's going to kind of put that to the forefront right now in this environment. Also, as far as following up with the student, the intention is at the end of taking the student through the cycle of assistance, at the very end, we'll follow up with the student and ask them basically, were your needs met? And that's going to be part of our evaluation for each student that is there. I also see a question here I found interesting. Someone's asking if VPN access to staff was limited or if we were limiting it. At West Hills, we are not. We've kind of allowed every staff who needs it to have VPN access while they're off-site. Specifically, it's been most important for those in the registrar's office and the counselors to be able to access their day-to-day work of information, to be able to process things in a timely manner, to be able to really assist students. So that's something that I think a lot of us have done throughout the system.
Okay. Thank you, Val. There's a general question, so either one of you can respond. For federally recognized Native American students, the student can contact the tribal office or contact their tribe for school supplies. So it looks like, I'm not sure if there's a question there or they're just commenting on what students can do if they are from tribal, but can you comment on any support that you're giving for specific population groups, like particular tribal students?
Yeah, I do know that we have that as a resource if a student is registered with a tribe. And so it's important, if you are a college that serves a large number of Native American students, to understand that that's available to students and tap into that, help them tap into those resources. I see a question coming up about timely MD and for 24/7 mental health support. At Pasadena City College, we have a department called Personal Counseling, and I also have the Student Health Center. I have the Student Health Center director oversee personal counseling for a health and wellness approach. And so we've moved those services remotely as well. Students can simply call or email the personal counseling department and meet with a therapist over the phone or on Zoom. And all that we had to do for that was to change our intake form so that students were aware that their therapy appointment would be done in a remote environment, and gave them guidelines on how to seek out a private space so that they would feel comfortable sharing freely with their mental health therapist.
Great. Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Val. We're going to wrap up. I had one last question directed to both of you. You're both in leadership roles at your colleges, and you maintain quite a large number of folks that you're trying to support, and you're both the kind of administrators that I know roll up your sleeves and you get out there with your team and show that you can be with them and support them while at the same time taking on your administrative duties. How do you manage with what's going on now to keep your focus so that your team is in focus, ultimately supporting students?
I think, you know, for myself, I always try and put myself in the shoes of our students to understand what they're facing and what they're going through. I think it helps that my personal background aligns very much with the lives that our students are leading. I'm the first in my family to go to college, and, you know, I'm Chicana, and I understand what it's like to face challenges related to low socioeconomic status, racism, sexism, those kinds of experiences that our students face that are exacerbated under this kind of a health crisis. And I know that those variables also impact, you know, our students in this situation. And so I just try and think about how can we identify resources and equip everybody with the solutions so that we can all become that helping professional to our students. You know, for example, even faculty, we provided our instructional faculty with information for the messaging to put out to students about homework that they're going to turn in late or assignments that they might miss that they need to make up. So just trying to figure out how can we help everybody exhibit care, compassion, and concern for our students, and then for one another. You know, making sure that our staff have resources too, because I know it's stressful for us to work, take care of kids and family members all during the same time. And so we've put forward resources about workshops on how to balance and navigate that as well. So it's just making sure that, you know, we have our pulse on what students need and do our best.
Thank you, Cynthia. Val?
You know, for me, it's, I'm very team oriented. So I feel like all great teams, all great families, all great units all have a baseline of trust. Trust is the most important thing. You have to trust each other when you're a team, a family, any kind of social organization. You got to trust for there to be effective and great teams, you know, to really flourish. And with that said, what I do is I really put a lot of trust in my team. The individuals I've hired, the people I work with, I believe in them all. And sometimes I feel like it's just my job to get out of their way. You know, keeping everything within the frame of what we want to do and where we want to go, but really just be there for them, provide them with support, work with them to execute whatever they need to execute, clear barriers when I need to, but really just be there to be a good teammate and to make sure I trust them. Like Steve Jobs said, right? We hired, you know, great people to tell us what to do, not to tell them what to do, you know, something like that. I'm probably messed up the quote, but my point is you got to really trust the people that you're working with and really believe that they're going to do the right thing for the right reason, and go ahead and, you know, support them. So that's kind of how I alleviate my level of anxiety with all of this, especially now in this remote environment. I can't see them every day. I can't talk to them the way I would love to. And so there's got to be a high level of trust and a belief in them. And I do that naturally as it is, but definitely now more than ever, it really has to be done.
Thank you, Val, and thank you again, Cynthia. We really appreciate your sharing your work and your dedication to your community, to your students, to your staff, to everyone that's involved trying to make this huge pivot to support students. And we hope that those of us that are listening, and I know that we didn't get to all the questions, but we are going to try to get responses from both of you to share with folks that participated on this panel today and listened in to your good work. We're looking to try to continue the conversation in future chats and future presentations and webinars. So again, thank you for your time, for your dedication, and for your sharing here today. We are going to move on to do a little bit of wrap up. Wanted to share with you, we do have a student support webpage on the Career Ladder site, and just wanted to point out that we do have a community of practice that is focused on a counselor network that is statewide. It's been around for almost 10 years, and we look forward to inviting those who are interested to join us. It is on Basecamp, and you see the first page here of the Basecamp. If you're interested, please respond with a follow-up email that there'll be instructions on how to join if you're interested. And currently, I think we're at 350 plus counselors, student support services from across the state, both high school and community college. So we hope that you will choose to join us and participate. We wanted to also share with you some critical resources that are available. You probably have been inundated with a number of resources, many webinars that are happening every hour, it seems daily. But we wanted to provide you with ones that we thought you should probably check out. And we'll have on the chat the links. If not, we will also follow up with you on the follow-up email to give you all these materials and information as well. Here we just listed a couple of them. We have a resource list of various internet access, online resources that our communications team put together. So you have access to that tiny URL that has all that list, as well as a number of resources through the Chancellor's office. The COVID-19 webpage is probably one of the ones that has the most comprehensive, that has both the latest information around the COVID-19 situation, updates, but also other web pages that could give you support in terms of social services that are available and mental health types of material and information that you could use to support your students as well. The Chancellor's Office does have a weekly update webinar that they host every Wednesday. We're providing that web link to you as well, the Zoominar web link, as well as the Vision Resource Center that also has a tremendous amount of material and information and resources there. So many resources to pick from, to choose, depending on what your needs are, will be available. And please feel free to, some folks I noticed are adding resources on the chat. We are going to take those and also fold them into the resources and links that we'll be sharing as a follow-up. Our next webinar will be on Wednesday, April 15th. Again, we're going to be using the same webinar link, so now that you have it, please keep it and use it for next time. We'll also be doing another round of sign-up, so that way we'll know who's planning on joining us, and we look forward to receiving your information. Again, all the material and resources and links, and this webinar is being recorded, will all be provided to you. We want to again thank the Chancellor's Office. This webinar series is being produced by the Career Ladders Project. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Career Ladders Project, we coach and advise in action-oriented ways colleges throughout the state and their partners and leaders to try to support the innovation and change that needs to happen to help students be successful and are trying to be equity-minded. So we look forward to continuing to be of support to the field and to our partners. We want to again thank you on behalf of the Career Ladders Project team, everyone that was involved to help put this together, especially our wonderful presenters, Dr. Cynthia Olivo and Val Garcia. thank you all for joining us. We are going to leave the Zoom going for a little bit so that folks that are interested in making a comment, adding a link or resource, or if you have another question that you didn't get a chance to put into the chat, now's your opportunity. We're going to try to leave this open for 10 minutes or so that you can continue adding your chat questions and comments in there. And then we'll be shutting it down for the purposes of closing this out. So again, thank you for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you again. Please share with your friends and be safe. Take care of each other. Be kind to all that you come across, especially students. Thank you again for joining us.